Hey everyone, CK Master here. I thought I'd do another video on some Mandragora patch notes. They just released 1.4, which includes quite a bit of good changes, some things I've been really looking forward to. Even though I'm not currently playing right now, I still like to keep an eye on the patch notes just to see what's coming because I know at some point in the future I'm going to play again. I do really enjoy this game. Then I like to come back to games, after they've kind of had some time to mature and just see what all the changes were. It's really fun to do, especially with games that seem to be so active, like this one, or Lords of the Fallen was a huge one for this. But, anyways, getting on to the patch notes and kind of focusing on that, we can see immediately some pretty big changes here. First is difficulty modifiers, that these have been changed a lot. Honestly, I forgot that they even had these because they weren't very significant, and I like to play it whatever the devs intend. Um, but they've added sliders that go. Previously, it was 70 to 100% of like damage, damage and health from enemies. Now they can go anywhere between 40% and 160%. So not only can you make it easier, you can make it harder, which is really cool because actually by the end of Mandragora, uh, it did get a little bit easy if you have a really good build, just something that you've been thinking about all the way through. What would be really cool to see, and I don't think they included this, but maybe they will later, is if there would be some increased rewards like more gold or I don't remember what they call souls, but whatever that currency is in this game. It'd be nice if we could get more of those. They've also added a stamina slider or increased the stamina slider, so you can now go anywhere from 40 to 100%. Previously, you can only go down to 70. Reese is back. So some of you may not have known this. Maybe you haven't beat the game or you just got a different ending. It's not too big of a spoiler, I hope, but if you're really, really concerned about spoilers, skip over the next couple seconds. But Reese would be dead at the end of the game under some endings. My first playthrough, I didn't get that. My second playthrough, I did. I'm not sure what triggered it. One of them seemed to be if I kissed Branween, then Reese would die at the end. That's about the best I can come up with. There might be some more information online, or maybe someone's found a video and done something about that by now. But anyways, he can't go away now, which is great because previously you could get to the end of the game. Maybe you wanted to keep playing, exploring the map or something, find some new weapons, and then you wouldn't be able to put runes on them, which was just a really frustrating choice, especially when you didn't have New Game Plus available. So for navigation, they've added a bunch of new Witchstone locations. That's good, especially before the final boss. That was driving people crazy. I know I saw a lot of posts about the final boss being so annoying because they don't have a Witchstone before them, which is a pretty bad run back. I will say that. So now that's there. Um, Reaching a boss in a rift will now spawn a shortcut portal, so you can just go straight to that boss. And then also, when you're doing entropy, if you die, you will come back inside the entropy, so you're not getting double loading screens, one for dying, one for going back in. So that's a really nice change. They added a couple other new shortcuts, the Theater Witchstone before the Marionettes boss fights, as well as a shortcut to the Tome Mistress boss fights. Those were both pretty rough run backs, so good choices. I think that covers most of the hard boss run backs, really. Uh, there are not too many others that I remember thinking were pretty bad, but I think that covers a lot of it. So they've made some other general changes to bosses and enemies. I'm not going to read through all of these. They're not all super significant. But Death Essence being retrievable before a boss fight is pretty nice. Uh, I had a couple situations where I fought a boss too early. I had explored the wrong way and then got kind of stuck. and wasn't really willing to give up my essence and fought them for too long. That happened a lot on my first playthrough, so now that just won't happen as much. Now I could find it before I actually start the boss, or I can make the decision to walk away. Whether or not I actually do that, I'm pretty stubborn. We'll see. Sometimes I like to try to beat the boss at a low level. So here we have a clump of 4 things actually nerfing the final boss encounter. So this is very nice. Telegraph effects for the final boss have been updated so you can see more of what they're doing and react to it. Air stagger has been removed in phase 2 of the final boss encounter. So what this did was the boss could knock you off ledges and stuff when they weren't supposed to be able to, so they fixed that. Witch Lantern recharge now begins sooner and refills faster during the final boss encounter. Okay. I mean, most of the time when you're fighting the final boss, actually the best way is just to rush him down. But I guess if you're fighting the intended way and using the lantern to heal Mandragora and stuff, then this is good. And health and resistances were slightly reduced in phase 2. That's nice. Okay. Let's see here. I believe. Nope. I'm missing something. So there's a lot of things that have been changed in terms of poison and bleed resistance. What is poison? Oh, so a lot of enemies have had their resistances decreased. So you can poison and bleed things a little bit easier, I suppose, or maybe they take more damage from it. So that is nice. Damage of late grain. Yeah, most of this isn't too significant. I think we've covered the big things here. Let's go on down to crafting and vendors. There are a lot of really nice changes here. So, level requirements for mana and major mana potions have been decreased. That's huge. All casters need mana potions, and being able to get these earlier is going to be really, really nice. Uh, Crafting costs and shop prices for several items have been decreased. I don't know what several items are, but it's probably pretty good. I mean, it can't be bad. Vendors now offer more and stronger mana potions. They're really helping out casters with this. Ursa, Shirin, and Alana require less experience to level up from 11 to 15. It's a very nice change. Once you started to get higher on these crafters, they were really hard to deal with. It was really annoying. And then these next ones acknowledge that even further. Reese requires less experience to level up over level 6. Yeah, he was pretty brutal and one of the most important casters. So, very nice change there. Ulfar requires less experience to level up over 11. So, our blacksmith, yeah, good change. Again, I hated crafting. It was really tough. So, it'll be nice to see these things. Okay. So they've done a couple things with just Inquisitor, our character, right? Um, Most of them I don't want to talk about too much, but they did mix in some really interesting things, which they hid kind of in the middle here. Um, which is really a lot of stamina cost and stagger value changes. So, stamina cost of the following daggers has been decreased. You can read and see if one of your daggers is in there, but that's good. I hadn't played Nightshade, but I know I had heard a lot of people complaining about them, so maybe that'll make them more viable. That should be very nice. Stamina and stagger values balance, mostly buffs. It's going to say mostly buffs for all of these. For one-handed weapons, two-handed maces, two-handed swords, and just tons of them. That's really nice. I don't know if it was frankly necessary. Um I felt really strong when I was using two-handed stuff and I felt like I got a lot of staggers. So I think it's a little bit weird that they're giving that many buffs to those many things, but I'm not going to complain. I don't know how big of a buff it is. I'm sure it's meant to make the game feel more fair. So it should be hopefully a good thing. And then we've just got a couple other miscellaneous things here. I don't know that they're going to make too big of a difference. Again, we're increasing the gold gain from quests. I believe we had that in the last patch, but nice. I won't complain about more gold. I am a person who doesn't like to have to go gather things and wait to make stuff. I like to just have it available as I'm playing the game normally. I get that there's some satisfaction in working for it, but if I cannot do it, I'm also happy to do that. Let's see. Most of these aren't too big. This one's kind of interesting. Increase the amount of essence in some coalesced essence packs. So just the things you can consume and get essence from, you can now get more. So that's kind of nice. Movement and traversal has a very nice one here. Sprint, roll, and evade no longer consume stamina in safe zones. This seemed like a kind of a staple in modern Souls likes. So it's nice that we're getting it. I was surprised we didn't have it at first. So that's great. Fall damage has been significantly reduced and fall distance to kill has been increased. Amazing. Amazing change. Anyone who watched my Wild Warden playthrough saw me barely dying to enemies. I've probably done 100 times to falls and just stupid BS. Like, it was so bad before. And then this as well. New grab points have been added to several areas. There was a lot of times where I was like, why is my character not getting this thing? Why did he not hit this ledge? Why did he not hit this? Whatever. Yeah. It looks like they're really reducing that. It was I don't know if it was my biggest frustration with the game. That might have been crafting, but it was the thing that affected my playthrough the most. You know, just dying so much to random stuff all the time. So I'm really looking forward to those changes, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how significant they are. Um, on this one, we have camera distance is increased in most entropy maps to provide better visibility. So what this means is that when you're in entropy, you know, a lot of times you can't see a platform around you that's disappearing or something. They've changed that so that now you can, which, you know, your character, it'll just be more zoomed out. That'll be really helpful. That was one of the biggest annoyances in entropy. It was you just couldn't see where you were going. Boss and mini boss levels are now visible on the user interface. Okay, yeah, I would have helped me if I was fighting a boss that was too high level. I would have known that I was there at the wrong time. I didn't even think about that as being something I wanted before, but yeah, now that it's there, should be nice. Um, not too much more here. Okay. Um, yes. Oh, so some more changes up here. I'm sorry, I'm missing just a few things from World. Um, this will again. Oh yeah, more helpers for entropy. Um, so dark areas will drain your witch lantern less faster. So anyone who didn't know, if you're in a dark area in entropy, your lantern would drain super fast. You also will now have a direction helper to guide you the right way in entropy. That'll be really interesting because, like I said, most of the time the hardest thing was you just didn't know where to go. And then they really tried to make entropy a lot better. You can see there's, yeah, 5 different things here. Some disappointing platforms in Entropy have been replaced with static platforms. Entropic chests now spawn further from the opening portals after defeating the boss. Disappearing platforms in Entropy now have a new visual effect to make it easier to distinguish before stepping on them. These are all really nice. I'm sure I don't need to explain all of those to anyone who's been through one. Um, this should just be great. A breakable wall has been removed before the elevator Witchstone and Briar Castle. Okay, not sure about that. That's kind of weird and random. I don't know what that is. Oh, and I did remember somewhere up here, one thing that I forgot to bring up that was interesting is they added some, well, okay, decreased damage of some enemies, but they also added some new enemies. Yeah, to reading Briar Castle is what reminded me. A few enemies have been added to Briar Castle, Dracodon Citadel, and Crimson City. Um, Interesting. I'm curious to see what those look like, if it makes the levels much harder. Interesting stuff, especially for Crimson City. It was already a pretty hard zone, so I'm curious to see what will be there. All right. Going back down to a couple things. Improved kill statistics based achievement tracking. Yeah, my achievements for killing never popped. So I would love for those to start working. Fixed an issue where the Grand Explorer achievement doesn't unlock even when we show 100% completion. Yeah, nice, good. And a missing diagram's been added, so that's very nice. Let's see. A lot of these other things are just bug fixes. I don't think too many of them are too big changes here. Yeah. And most of these are just, yeah, fixing random things. And I believe we've covered most of the big stuff. I think these are a lot of good changes here. Getting around the world's going to be a lot better. Entropy is going to be a lot better. You have changes and customizations on how you want to play the game. Yeah, it's exciting stuff. Good changes from Mandragora 1.4. Let's see him keep it up. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Please subscribe if you like my channel. I'm trying to grow it and make more videos. And I hope you have a good day, night, evening, whenever you're watching this. Have a good one. Bye.